is a wealth of opportunity for future Feldenkrais research, not only to build upon what's already been done, but in some new areas. I'm going to start with kind of thinking about basic research. Again, if you remember at the beginning, I said basic research is inspired by our curiosity about the natural world. You know, how does it work? What is it? Well, let's think about the Feldenkrais method as a tool for research. To understand, what if we could rewrite the paradigm for how anatomy and physiology is taught in medical schools? That it's not the bits and parts and isolated, you know, or systems working with systems, but wow, that movement on one part of the body, if that's limited, is going to impact movement on another part. We really have an opportunity, and the work through biotensegrity.
That is we have biotensegrity being covered here in this time around. So yes, we'll.
Yeah, I was excited to see that. That's laying the groundwork, and I think as we continue to engage people in maybe some more of the traditional fields in medicine, to really demonstrate using the Feldenkrais method that a new paradigm for how we learn and study anatomy, physiology. And then, of course, we all talk about the neuroplasticity. Well, the Feldenkrais method and learning about neuroplasticity is a hot topic in biomedical research for a variety of reasons. And as I read a lot of papers or research in that area, I don't often hear Feldenkrais mentioned. I've even come across papers where musculoskeletal rehab researchers calling out for the need to develop rehab therapies that incorporate or are based on neuroplasticity. And of course, I'm waving my arms for Feldenkrais. The effectiveness research, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that right now, because I think this is what we hear about and think about and use in our practices, and why people come to us. It's the rehab work, the neuromusculoskeletal rehab work, disorder treatment. But the two really hot areas I want to point out that we also kind of throw in there as, yeah, we do that too, but are huge growing areas where more money is being devoted to fund research, and the biomedical enterprise and clinical enterprise are asking for new solutions, is balance, healthy aging, because we have boomers that are aging and we want to feel really good for a long time, and then pain, chronic pain. Every single day, in my job, I'm encountering conversations, even amongst integrative medicine physicians, about how can we create non-pharmacological approaches for pain management, because we're dealing with a huge opioid addiction crisis. And they're looking at and have evidence for yoga therapy, Tai Chi, chiropractic, mindfulness, mindfulness-based stress reduction programs. Because some of these applications have engaged, I think it's because researchers are more familiar with the yoga that they do as a daily practice, or some of these other practices that they're more familiar with. And so there's been research on it. We have a lot to learn from how these studies have been done. We can do parallel studies or comparative studies with the Feldenkrais method. So again, it's a really ripe opportunity. And when I look at the research that's being published, and I value all of the modalities I've listed here, the uniqueness of the Feldenkrais method as a learning method, as a personal, exploratory method, is distinct. And I think we have a real unique opportunity to get on the list of the Veterans Administration recommendations, the NIH recommendations for non-pharmacological approaches to pain. Feldenkrais needs to be, have enough evidence to be listed up there with these other modalities where there's been more familiarity and more research. So that's kind of a personal flag for me. I think I'm almost at my last slide. This one here, I just don't want to skip, because I actually was talking to someone at the NIH, and all the research that I mentioned before, they consider particularly the pain issue is their biggest issue. It keeps them up at night. And I said, well, the Feldenkrais method has a great opportunity to solve the problems you're concerned about, such as chronic pain. And I found myself saying, but frankly, it's the low-hanging fruit. But it's true, because I think all of us that know, and I'm not trying to oversell the Feldenkrais method in any way, but this is from my personal experience, and as I'm being trained in the method, I see more and more it unfolds, that the Feldenkrais method is really about an understanding of self within the whole. And when I say self within the whole body, our communities, humanity, the planet. So there are rich opportunities here and practices and study designs that are developed that look at those questions, but they haven't looked at the Feldenkrais method doing this. The first, embodied cognition. So this is looking, interoception, proprioception, sense of, the interoception is, well, what am I feeling in my body? What are the internal senses? Well, that's our body scan right at the beginning. Do you know, this is that the NIH is holding a 2-day seminar on interoception and the research needs. Beautiful opportunity for us, where we always talk about in the Feldenkrais method how we have to be able to translate what we do to the scientific community. It's happening in kind of this natural way, where field researchers that are diving deeper into mindfulness research, they're looking at these theories of interoception, proprioception, kinesthetic awareness. And there's going to be funny opportunities. Again, Feldenkrais. The next one, I just want to give a little time to, because we see it every day, whether we realize it or not. And I mentioned this at the Feldenkrais conference, is examination of the root causes, or how engaging a sense of self, how the Feldenkrais method, allowing a sense of self-agency, empowerment, and choice, I believe, can inform how we understand what we are seeing as an epidemic of what the CDC calls diseases of despair. This is uptick in violence, suicide, addictions. These happen when people lose a sense of hope, they feel they don't have choices, and they are externally focused rather than having a sense of internal self. And so I think there's a real important opportunity for the Feldenkrais method to be able to demonstrate, the importance of self, how it conveys a sense of self-agency and a sense of hope and a sense of choice in our society. It goes on and kind of gets bigger and bigger, all the way to human consciousness and creative expression and health. All of these are areas that they sound non-scientific, but I will tell you they are being published in studies on these topics are being published in some of our top health journals out there. So I think any of us that have experienced the Feldenkrais method can see the applications for these areas. So I want to add that as inspiration for Feldenkrais minded. I would kind of say my 2 slides break out, and this slide is kind of for the Feldenkrais minded scientific community, and the first slide is for the scientific community that doesn't know about Feldenkrais yet.
Yeah. Thank you, Diane. I want to pull. Who can pass up a quote by Jim Morrison?
So after all that science, right? We got to really get grounded now, and think about Jim Morrison. From the Doors, musician, lead musician of the Doors. And I love this quote by him. He said, "Let's just say I was testing the bounds of reality. I was curious to see what would happen. That's all it was. Just curiosity."